Good day, everyone. We are now on topic 5, which tackles about the perspectives of communication. And I was tasked specifically to discuss about the psychological model of communication. So first off, what is psychological model of communication? So we have here a general understanding of the psychological model. Interpretation of the communication is entirely based on the receiver's psychological setup, and hence the psychological models are employed to understand the communication process. A psychological model goes beyond the standard functions defined by communication and tends to attach an originator or encoder to receptor perspective in the communication process, thereby making it dynamic and unrestricted. It derives its aspects from the individual's perspective, basing the communication on a variety of internal factors of the individual's psychological attempts to explain the thoughts, process, and linguistics involved. In a psychological model, there is necessarily a sender and a receiver. The number can be as low as single person acting both as a sender and receiver, or can go up to hundreds of thousands of people based on the medium of communication. So for example is this: when you are a blogger or a vlogger, you use email as a medium and you send it to wide range of sender or receptor. Another example is Telegram, where you can send a message to thousands of receiver or members in a chat room. The first step in the process begins with the formation of an idea or a thought that the sender wishes to convey to the receiver. Then the sender now translates this idea or thought into a tangible form of code that can be sent to the receiver. This process is generally called encoding. The code can be in form of speech, gesture, or written content. Now this content has to be transmitted via a certain medium. This is generally known as a channel, which can be a telephone line, the air, paper, or a computer. At this phase, it is essential to keep noise to a minimum as it can affect the receptor or the reception of the receiver. The message can be lost or misinterpreted in the case of excessive noise. Here again, based on the capacity of the individual to effectively decode the message which is sent. This is where the psychological aspect of an individual kicks in. Once transmission of the message is done through a medium, it is sent to the receiver's end where it is decoded. This decoding process is very essential as it is the point where the integrity of the communication is tested. If based on psychological factors, the receiver makes an error in decoding, then it can widespread it can have widespread implications on the communication process, which may end up as a failure. So we have here uh, noise, the meaning of the noise. So as a message travels, there will be inevitably the noise in the channel. This refers to any sort of distraction that will disrupt the interpretation of the message. Noise can mean anything that takes the attention away from the speaker to one's own thoughts that prevent them from focusing on the message. As the receiver decodes the message, their interpretation will be influenced by their own values, belief, and attitudes as well. Oftentimes, this can cause a misunderstanding, which also lead to miscommunication. After interpreting the message, the receiver must give feedback. The receiver will become the sender and decode the message of their own to be sent through the channel. As the process is repeated, it forms a loop of encoding and decoding messages. And this is what we call the message transmission model or the psychological model of communication. So, how can we improve the message by telling us to adapt them to the minds of our audiences? Now, according to the psychological viewpoint, communication is simply not the flow of information from the sender to the receiver, but actually the thoughts, the feelings, or of the sender, which he tries to share with the recipients. So that would be all for the psychological model of communication. Thank you so much.